I want to tell you that your MBA program is extremely useful. In a marketing course, your faculty will be talking about how market segmentation was done by Hindustan Unilever or V-Guard companies for its stabilizers, right? And how they looked at a market opportunity where there's a lot of voltage fluctuation in India. And they came out with, really fantastic stabilizers. V-Guard is a Kerala-based company, and it's one of the well-known companies in that ecosystem. So initially, V-Guard probably would have had only one stabilizer. Today, V-Guard has different stabilizers for different products, right? So right now, if you take any product in the market, right, it cannot work without your understanding what is it are the features, advantages, and benefits of the product that you are having or service. Features, advantages, benefits of the product. Now, based on the features, advantages, and benefits, you will segment the market. Let's say, for example, you have X number of people staying in Cochin, X number of people staying in Trivandrum, right? Now, based on the product and the pricing and the packaging and all these factors, you are going to segment the market and say, this is a segment of the market. Only certain percentage of the population of Kochi will buy this product. Certain percentage will buy it in Trivandrum, right? So what you're doing is, because of the features, advantages, and benefits of the product, you're now bringing it down and you're segmenting the market and say, this is my immediate customer, this is my next customer, right? So which is why you'll find that the same company has 4 or 5 different products at different price points, right? So which means price is also, so somebody is accessing that particular product. So now let's look at you, right? Each one of you. Now let us say you take the same principle of marketing and you start applying it to yourself, and then ask yourself, where do you want to go, right? As a product, as an MBA graduate, which company do you want to join? What sector do you want to focus on? So now, based on what are the qualities that you have focused on building about yourself in these 2 years of your MBA program, you as a product will segment the employability opportunities across different sectors. And you will say, hey, I want to focus on these 3 sectors. Or you might say, I want to take up a HR job in these companies. So which means that you work backwards. And just like you bring marketing into focus, you also bring marketing, HR, finance, everything into a combination of factors and say, this is the salary that I want to get when I leave college, right? So based on the salary you want to target in a particular company, that company will have an expectation saying that this is what an MBA candidate in marketing, finance, HR specialization should have. This is what the person should be able to do. This is what the person should know about my company. This is what the person should know about the job function. Now, as somebody who is a product, if you are going to start focusing on that and start working during these 2 years, you will find that it's a fit, right? You will find it's a fit. Otherwise, what's going to happen, my dear young friends, is that you will do 2 years of MBA, but you will not know what market you're targeting, right? So when you finish your thing, because you have paid fees in an institution, you put a lot of burden on the placement team at your college to get you, kind of like uh, a perfect job, a perfect salary. Please understand that the MBA program or the institution cannot find specific jobs for each one of you, because look at the placement team in any college, right? You have the placement coordinator, you have other staff members contributing, your student placement, people who are part of the committee. Now, usually you will find that the placement coordinator also takes on other responsibilities in the college. So it becomes extremely difficult for the college, whether it is engineering, MBA, any college, to find a specific job based on the interest of each one of the students. So usually when you're looking at group buying, placement also becomes like a group buying situation where you are going to go to 100 companies and then see which one of the companies will come and recruit 20 students, 30 students. You're not going to go after the companies which will say, I want to hire one person, right? So that's your responsibility. So if you have any specific dreams that are there, that's something that you have to start working on. So which is why I asked you, why do you want to do an MBA, right? So if you know why you want to do an MBA, and I want you to write down 10 reasons why you want to do an MBA, as homework for today, which you will email. I will leave my email ID. You will just send me an email saying why you want to do your MBA, right? Uh, find 10 reasons. It could be a certain salary, it could be a certain kind of job, it could be a dream of your parents, whatever it is. Now, if the dream is something which is really compelling, then you will really make this MBA work for you. Now, if you say, I want to do an MBA because everybody is doing an MBA, or if you say, I want to do this MBA because I think it's good to do an MBA because everybody today seems to have an MBA degree, right? It's a okay reason, but it should be the reasons, 10 reasons, irrespective of what reasons you write down. When you look at it in the morning when you wake up and you're looking at your face in the mirror, and right next to it, you've put the sheet of paper stuck on the wall, which says, why am I doing this MBA, right? Is it motivating enough for you to get out of your bed an hour early and read up on the kind of job that you want to get in? Is it motivating enough for you to work on your stage fear and practice speaking for 5 minutes on a certain topic and record it on your phone, maybe, right? So, what is the extra bit that this are the reasons that the MBA is getting you to work on, right? So, this is something which will definitely, become a key point for you, definitely in terms of motivating you to carry on with your MBA as such. So at this point of time, we have taken around 37, 38 minutes into, we have kind of reached one third of the session coverage now. So I just want to try and understand what are the questions that are there in your mind. Are there any questions that you have for me? Please type in the chat box. Any questions that you have for me, please uh, feel free to ask. So what I've done right now is that I've just sent you my email ID consultshravan@gmail.com. Of course, when I told you 10 reasons to write, now you're thinking what could be the 10 reasons. So I don't want you to write 10 reasons. I want you to think of 3 reasons on why you're doing this MBA program, which 3 reasons will get you out of the bed early, which will motivate you to do extra in this MBA so that you can be your best, right? So I want you to think of 3 reasons and email and send it to me in an email, right? To that email ID. So those that's your first assignment. I'm not going to bring it up again. Uh, and I want you to send me the 3 reasons by email before 5 o'clock this evening. Okay, before 5 o'clock this evening, I need you to send me an email with the subject saying 3 reasons why I want to why I'm doing this MBA, right? So that's your first task. So now let me dive into some research that I've done over the years in terms of questions that a lot of students have when they enroll for their MBA and they are in the first year, right? And these could be expectations at the induction program. It could be in the first week, first month of the MBA program. As I ask you these questions, type yes in the chat box if you believe that these are questions that you have and you want this induction program to answer that for you. Okay. So question number 1, right, is one of the questions that are there in your mind. One of the questions that is there in your mind. Is there a question in your mind? How can I get the most from my MBA? Type yes in the chat box if this is something which is there in your mind. Do you want to know how you can get the most from your MBA program? Type yes in the chat box. Type no if the question isn't there and you know how, then please type no. But type yes in the chat box if this is something that you want to figure out. Great. I can see a lot of yeses. Fantastic. Uh, do you also have a question? So I'm moving on to the next question now. The next question is, how much does academics and grades matter? Is that a question that is there in your mind? Is it more about work experience, more about internships? But definitely you have a question saying, how much does academics grade matter? Because you might have heard about people telling you outside that, hey, it doesn't matter what marks you get as long as you get a good internship and a job, right? So great. So that's also a question. So I think I'm getting good at mind reading now. I should give myself a pat on my back. So let's move on to the third question. So now a lot of MBA students I have found are asking themselves this question: what specialization do I choose, and how do I decide what specialization to take up? So is that something which is there in your mind? Please type yes in the chat box. Great, great. So related to that specialization is the next question, where the question is, are there any subjects that are absolutely necessary? Have you felt looking at the subjects? Because usually what happens is when you prepare for your exams in the earlier colleges, you look at what subjects are the most important and dedicate a lot of time to those subjects, right? Or in the subject, you might have 20 chapters and you decide that you are going to focus only on 8 chapters. So likewise, are you thinking, the next question is, are there any subjects that are absolutely necessary? Is that a question on your mind? Type yes in the chat box if that is so. Okay. Angel, Roshna, Sri Lakshmi, Anumol, Navita, Femi, Nimi, Alvin say yes. Siriak, Rajiv says yes. Great. Nikhil Roy says yes. Jenny John says yes. Seven, Harsha, Divya, Abby, Vishnu, Bibin, Sanjana, Tom say yes. Anjana, Gopika says yes. Great. So now, which brings us to a very important question is, uh, I want to ask each one of you, how many of you have already prepared your resume at least once? Have you prepared your resume as of now after your degree? Those of you who have prepared your resume, please type yes in the chat box. Okay, great, great. You made your resume, great. Those of you who have not made your resume yet ever before, please type no in the chat box. Okay, I can see 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3 people have said no, but everybody else is saying yes. Great. So, which brings us to the second assignment of the day is that those of you who have already prepared your resume, when you are sending me that email which says that, yes, these are the 3 reasons why I'm doing this MBA program and I want to get out of bed. In the same email, I want you to attach your resume in that email which you have already prepared as an attachment on the email that you are sending me. If please type yes in the chat box if you are going to be sending me your resume. Okay, great, great, great. Okay. So now those of you who have not prepared a resume, what I would suggest you is go online, take a look at it. I want you to prepare a very simple resume where in that resume you mention your education, your marks, what degree course you have done, academic, your marks and your degree course, percentage, academic, co-curricular, extracurricular activities that you have participated in. Any achievements of yours, please mention it in the resume, right? So send me your resume as is, whatever you've achieved. Now, we believe that, one should do visualization, create a visualization into the future, right? So I'm bringing up the next question, which are questions which either MBA students have before, uh, the first few months when they're getting into the program, or they look at the same question in regret at the end of it. So the question I'm asking is, what do I need to make my resume stand out? What should I gather in terms of experiences? What should I achieve in these two years of the MBA program that I'm going to put into my resume, right? So either you are asking this question to yourself right at the beginning of your MBA program, saying, "Hey, I need to figure this out so that the next 2 years are going to be great, going taking it to the next level." I've seen the opposite happen in certain B schools when we go in only for placement training, is that in the last 3 months, suddenly people wake up and say, "Oh, my resume has there's hardly anything that I can put in the resume," right? So as a result of that, do you have a question right now in your minds as I'm bringing this up? The question is, what do I need to make my resume stand out? Type yes in the chat box if you want to know this. Great, great. Good to know. Great. So the next related question that comes up is, is there a question in your mind? Can I add co-curricular, extracurricular activities to my resume as an MBA student? Does it still have leverage for me when I'm leaving my MBA program? Type yes in the chat box if you want to know if you can add co-curricular, extracurricular activities to your resume. Great. So now the last question which I have for you is, which is a very controversial question, which I'm going to ask, is how many of you have this question in your mind? Do I enjoy free time during my MBA program, or do I use my free time during the MBA program? Right? Because for good or for bad, right now, because of COVID-19, the colleges started in a delayed manner. If I was in school, I would have been very happy. Hey, no school, I have to be at home. But of course, I would miss my friends if I'd already made friendship. But if it's a new school, I would be okay with going to the school, rather late. And I would be okay even if out of the entire year of 365 days, even if I had only 3 months of school, I would have been happy. But right now, as MBA students, also, you might be feeling a little happy that there's no college, typically like school or college, a lot of free time. But I say it's controversial because I'm not labeling you or anything, but it is human tendency for us to want to have free time to enjoy it, right? So that's ideal. If you have a lot of money in the bank and you don't need to work, we all believe that, that's the ideal life. You have so much money in your bank account and a lot of free time, right? What would you do with it? It's been found that a lot of people who have a lot of money in their bank account are not necessarily always looking for free time, right? Uh, the founder of Kodak, George Kodak, is supposed to have said that he committed suicide and he said, "I didn't have anything else to do." So boredom is a real thing, right? So uh, if you believe in a God, and if you believe that God uh, conceptualized that you would be born on this earth to a certain set of parents, he also gives you a certain set of gifts, right? So we have a belief that if you are going to meet your maker, right, when your time comes, my question to you is, what will you do if your God, whoever it is, Jesus, Allah, Brahm, you know, Guru Nanak, whoever your God is, when you meet your God, what would your answer be if God asks you, have you used all the potential that I gave you in your lifetime? Right? So that becomes like a really crucial, question of sorts that one should look at, right? So Please type in the chat box if you feel, please type yes in the chat box if you feel that you have used 50% of your potential that you have. You really believe that you have used 50% or more than 50%. If you have, please type yes in the chat box if you've used your potential. Right? I can see a lot of no's. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for being honest. You're a very self-aware group of students. Great. Good to know that you realize that you've not utilized your uh, potential to the best. So here's the opportunity, right? So when you get an MBA program for 2 years, you will learn two things primarily, right? One is opportunities are given by the institution. Second, you will also realize that unless you take the initiative, your institution doesn't really know what potential you have. Now, let us say, right, if you studied in the same school and from the same school you went to the college, degree college, from the same group of institutions you went to your master's program, there is a chance that people know about what you can do, right? And definitely during your MBA interview, it would have been mentioned saying what you have done, what your background is. But I believe that every institution or company that you leave and you go to, irrespective of how well you've done in the previous organization or institution, it's a fresh start, right? Uh, how many of you have changed schools when you were in school? You know, you've been in more than one school during your schooling years. Please type yes in the chat box if you've changed your school. You know, okay, I can see one. Anybody else who's moved schools? You not been in the same school from first to 10th standard. You've changed schools. Okay, great. So which means that you will identify with what I'm saying because I have changed schools. I did my initial schooling up to third standard, fourth standard in 3-4 different schools. My father was in a government job, so he took a transfer from Bangalore to Mangalore. So every time I went to a new school, it was very frustrating. I had to make new friends, right? And the teachers didn't really know me at all. It was not the teacher's fault, right? So likewise, I would like to say that here too, right, at SB Management College, when you're here, you have to create a reputation for opportunities to come to you. So when your college faculty in a class ask for volunteers, if in a program somebody asks for volunteers once you go back to college, please volunteer, right? It's when you volunteer that people really get to know that you are there in that institution. Whether you're in your church, mosque, or temple, if you regularly go there and get involved in community activities, people in your community will know you. If you are a part of the YMC, I'm just saying Young Men's Christians Association, and people will know you, right? So you will get a lot more opportunities. It's not work. Volunteering is not work. Volunteering is a platform for you to build your leadership skills. Now, a lot of you have said that your strength is your leadership skills, right? It can't be just that there is a thought in your head that you are a leader and you have leadership skills. Only if you have demonstrated leadership skills before, that is when you will be, clear in your heart and mind and soul. Yes, I am a leader. I have leadership skills, right? Otherwise, you're saying leadership skills is something that you have is just a thought. It's a feeling. Unless you have something, you've done something in the past to back that up. So definitely, I would say that you need to start looking at having a plan in place for the next 52 weeks in year one and next 52 weeks in year two. I'm not saying, you have to have a plan, concrete. I'm saying you should make a commitment to yourself saying that I'm going to do something with my life. So I would like at this point of time to introduce to you a concept called True North. If you've heard of the concept True North before, please type yes in the chat box or type no in the chat box if you've not heard of True North. Great. I got to know of True North only a year or so ago. So, okay, great. Great. So I just want to, give two definitions of True North. So it's believed that, there is the magnetic north if you're going towards the North Pole, right? but the geographic north of Earth is in direct opposite direction of the magnetic north, which is the North Pole. So that is what is called as a true north, right? So we are in a spinning world, right? So when we are in a spinning world, we need a fixed point for us to point us through, right? So today, if you're in a world where you find that when you're walking on the street, there are people who are mistreating poor people, there are people who are mistreating somebody who's disabled. Now, if we are also going to give in to group behavior and say that, hey, we know that somebody is doing something wrong, but just because it's a majority group of people, are we going to just let it continue, or are we going to agree with that, right? So which means that the world is spinning, the values are spinning, but the question is, do you have like your fixed position on certain things, right? So that's where your values come into play. So we all have an internal compass, uh, which guides us. You know what a magnetic compass is. People use it for directions, and probably if you are in a place where you can't see anything, no landmarks, you're going to use something which is called a compass, right? It's famously said that if you don't know where you're going, then you land up anywhere, right? So it's good for you to start thinking about certain aspects of who you are at your deepest level, right? So that will actually help you to a large extent. So which brings us to the aspect that today when we look at successful people, who do you think is a role model for you? Who do you think is a role model for you? Please type in the chat box any role model that you have. My father, Jack Ma. Okay. Ginny John says Jack Ma. Aishwarya Achu says my father. Or role model could be a celebrity or any person. So please type in the chat box your role model. Brother, sister, great, great. Can I see a few more contributions? Brother, okay. Also type the quality associate. Type the name of the person and also type in a word or a sentence. Why is that person your role model? Why is your father your role model? Why is your brother your role model? What qualities? What have they done which makes them your role model? Some action of theirs, some quality which you see, which you want to have, which they have. Mention the quality. Nikhil Roy says mother because she has good management skills. Great, great, great. Sinta Saji says mother patience. Ashwati Dinesh says perseverance. Alvin Saji says problem solving in a cool mind is the quality of his father, of her father. Father is the role model and problem solving in a cool mind. Aishwarya says he's built his own name by his hard work. My father. Sri Lakshmi Natarajan says always confident. Open-minded is a great quality, yes. Nimi says of a father. APJ Abdul Kalam, life achievements. Anumol says my sister, hardworking person, leadership skill, communication skill. Femi Sebastian, my uncle, motivates me every time to achieve my dreams. Brother is hardworking and patient, says Jenu. Great, 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 great qualities. Anybody else? Positive thinking, mother. Amal says communication skill of father. Ansu says father is motivating. Rajiv says my father supportive and good leader. Chester Thomas, Sachin Tendulkar character, great. Jason James says don't have a role model, so maybe Jason you can be your own role model, great. Anjana Gopika, mother hardworking and positive thinking. Dia Dominic, father hardworking and love without expression and love with expression, character. Marin Susan says, brother, good communication skills motivates me to become independent. Father, very dedicated, loves to keep learning new things. Fantastic. Positive thinking, brother. Kito says, frankly, I don't have a role model. That's okay. No challenges with that. Great, great, great. Good to know this. Pooja says, don't have a role model. Mohammed Sajjad says, parents are my role model. Vishnu Surendran says, father, positive thinking. Navita says, APJ Abdul Kalam, simple man. So now let me flip the question, right? So, what qualities of your role model do you have in you? Can you type? If you don't have a role model, that's fine. But what qualities do you think that you have which will help you to become successful? What is the one quality that you have right now which you think can be useful in helping you to become successful, irrespective of whether you are having a role model or not? Any one quality that you have, please type in the chat box. Supportive and leading, courage to do anything. Aishwarya, Dani, adaptability. Fabi Sebastian, hard work and confidence. Ashwati Dinesh, acceptance and patience. Alvin says patience. Navita says hard work. Amal says hard work. Jason says bringing up new ideas. Anu Stressa says patience. Anjani Gopika, good relationships, leading and hardworking, patience, honesty, patience and innocence, taking risk, hard work. I think I'm good in adapting to situations, interacting with new people. Awesome. Positive towards failure, great. Hard work, relationship and patience, making good decisions, positive thinking, great. Hard work, great. Great. Listening skills, fantastic. Accepting others the way they are, great. Great. Hard work and dedication, great. Positive thinking, fantastic. Fantastic. Managing skill, great. Dedication. Hearing others' feelings, yes. Innovative, great. Patience, okay. Okay, that's a good set of different responses that we've got. So I want to right now, dwell on the fact that, every king, every successful person you can think of, these role models that you have, public celebrities that you see, all these people were once, just a baby. Agreed? Agreed. All of them were babies once. You look at the Taj Mahal, you look at the Leaning Tower of Pisa, you look at all these big monuments and buildings that you see, even large buildings that you might see in Kochi, Trivandrum, Calicut, which are there. Now, all these monuments, buildings, and people, they were all babies once, and they were all, just a sketch, the buildings, right? Just a blueprint before it actually got constructed. Now, I'm coming to a very important part which I want you to write down. So please type yes if you're ready with a notepad. Yes, okay. I can see that. Great. So point number one, I want you to write down. It's very important for you to find your true north, for you to be successful, leverage your MBA, right? To get started is you need to have self-awareness, right? Write down self-awareness. Know myself well. You need to know what your strengths are. You need to know what you like, what you don't like. Right? It's not just in your mind. You need to know it. You need to know yourself really well. Right? It's important for you to have relationship transparency. Relationship building is very, very important. You are self-aware, yes. In an MBA, you also have to work with people in a team, right? So you need to be genuine with people, right? uh, a lot of times without our realization we don't contribute to the team and we expect the team to take us forward, right? So today when you look at Kerala as a state, you look at India as a country, right? India could be a far greater country, Kerala could be a far greater state, provided all bureaucrats, all politicians, all citizens of Kerala, this applies to Karnataka as well, where to all the states, right? Now if four people are lifting a load and two people are taking most of the load, after some time the two people who are taking the load feel frustrated. So likewise in your MBA team projects, if you don't contribute and expect the remaining two people in a team of four people to do all the work, over a period of time they will learn, they'll put it on the resume. Now you'll also put it on your resume, but you won't be able to talk about your project because they would have done all the work. So you need to be consciously aware whether you're contributing to a project or not contributing. If you are not contributing, why is it that you're not contributing? Is it because the other two people in the team are not giving you an opportunity? Or are you holding yourself back because of something that happened before when you were working in a team, right? So always be self-aware, have a transparency in your relationships. If you're not able to understand the concept, tell your teammates saying that you've not understood what needs to be done. There is nothing wrong in asking questions again and again if you don't understand till you understand it, right? Patience is important for you. You need to be fair minded. See, just like you want to be treated well, you have to treat others well. Now because you are the person taking the load, you can't think of yourself as being a great person. Like you can't be ustad or think of yourself as Bahubali, if I may say so, right? Or give yourself a different title as such. So please understand that just like you have problems, others also might have problems. So the third point is balance processing. Be fair minded with people. So if you feel that something is not going right in a relationship, go talk to the person. Don't assume, don't judge the person, don't speak behind the person's back. It's important for you. The fourth point is to do the right thing. So have an internal moral compass, right? It's your internal values. Do the right thing for the right reasons, right? So now, which brings us to 7 habits of effective people, highly effective people. So Stephen Covey, who's a well-known author, he looked at life and said that life is a series of how you manage time, right? So he said that all the tasks that you have to do, whether you study, whether you work, whether you go to the church, mosque, temple once a week, whether you have got your cleaning to do of your clothes, all your tasks from the most important to the least important, all of them can be done over a period of a week, 7 days, right? 7 days. So which means that for you to be effective in a week, he came up with 7 habits for you to be highly effective at. The more you focus on these 7 habits, you will find that it's easier for you to carry out most of your tasks. We will look at time management probably in the next session in terms of specifically how that works. So what are these 7 habits? Habit number 1 is be proactive, means take the initiative, right? You have to take the initiative in terms of being proactive. How many of you believe that you take initiative? Please type yes in the chat box. Do you take initiative? Okay, great, great. So if that is so, please type in the chat box saying I am awesome. Please type in the chat box I am awesome. I am awesome in the chat box. If you take initiative, please type in your chat box I am awesome. I am awesome. Great. You are awesome. Great. Fantastic. Keep that up. So it's very important for you to keep patting yourself on the back to keep yourself motivated, because a lot of times there's nobody around, right? So habit number 2, first is be proactive, take initiative. Habit number 2 is begin with the end in mind. Always have a goal, right? So when you're given a project, Your teacher has told you what is expected. Please pay close attention to what's expected. In my MBA program, we were told by our teacher in organizational behavior, I'm going to be giving you a project which is 100 points in the project, where 80 points is going to be given to your report and 10 points are going to be given to your presentation. Okay. So people put in a lot of work for this project, and they put it even more work for the presentation. So the presentation day came. A lot of people put up a fantastic presentation, very dynamic presentation about the project, everything. Finally, when the grades came out, there were a few amongst of us, including me, who got our results, and we were okay with the results because on a presentation we got something like 7, and on the report we got, out of 80 we got around 65, 70. Now there was a huge percentage in my class of around 40-50 people in my MBA class who went and started arguing with the teacher, with the professor, saying, sir, we've got low marks, right? And he said, well, what you presented, you've got your marks. So these people had scored 9 out of 10, right? But if you look at the other metrics, right, which was there, so 80, as I said, was for the research paper or the documentation. 10 was for the presentation actually, and there was another 10 points which I think there was a short quiz or something which I don't remember at this point of time. And he just told them that when I gave you the instructions, I was very clear, right? I told you that 80 is going to be for the report. Now what happened is, because the entire world is about packaging and visibility and presentation, everybody just assumed that if they put up a great presentation, they would get, high marks. So which is why it's very important for you to pay attention to the brief, right? Whether it's an internship project, whether it's a client telling you to do something, right? So listen to what they're saying and how they're going to evaluate it, right? And focus on that. So which means that you have to begin with the end in mind. Now, when you begin with the end in mind, it takes us to the next habit immediately, which is put first things first. Now, you have got 6 papers in your MBA program where you have to score, right? Now, how you manage your time with your assignments and everything else is your responsibility. So if your faculty is given you an assignment and asks you to submit it by that time, if you submit it by 5 o'clock, you get full points on time management, punctuality, everything. You submit at 5:01, that means you're late, right? So you can't say that I sent out the email at 5, right? It depends on what time the email is received, right? So when I say I need to see your email by 5, which means you need to send it well before that, right? So you have to be proactive. You have to begin with the end in mind. You have to put first things first. Fourth, think win-win, right? You also have to look as a team, when you divide up a presentation, to give everybody an opportunity. That is true leadership. Leadership is not taking the lead. Leadership is giving shared responsibility, shared visibility. That's when you're a true leader. It's not about you taking everything on your head and your shoulder, right? Point number 5, habit number 5. The first thing you should look at doing is seek to understand the other person, right? Then expect the other person to understand you. A lot of times in our relationships at home and in our personal life, we are always expecting the other person to understand us. Now, when the focus is that, your relationships are always going to be a little bit of a struggle. When you understand other people, people are more drawn to you. Dale Carnegie, one of the greatest motivational speakers of all time, said, the best way for you to make friends is to be interested in them. If you want to make friends, it can't begin with them being interested in you, right? So you will find that a lot of great friendships, you ask a lot of details with the other friend will know about the other person, right? But if you find that there are 2 people in a relationship, whether it's husband and wife, whether it is mother and child, whether it is 2 friends, 2 colleagues, a relationship, if one knows more than the other about the other person, then it means that there is equality. But if there is one person who doesn't know enough, that means the person is not invested in the relationship. So definitely seek first to focus on understanding the other person, then expecting the person to understand you. So it's very important for you to synergize, sharpen the saw in terms of building the relationship, working on it, right? So we have be proactive, which is habit number one. Habit number two is begin with the end in mind. Habit number three is put first things first. Habit number four is think win-win. Habit number five is seek first to understand, then to be understood. Habit number six is synergize, which means you bring your strengths together and make it work so that you are phenomenal as a team, phenomenal as a college, right? Number seven is sharpen the saw. Now, if you have a blade and if you're not sharpening it time to time, you will not be able to use it well. So, similarly, whatever skills you have, presentation skills, calculation, capability, accounting, whatever you're good at, you have to keep sharpening it. Otherwise, you will find that when the time comes, you're going to find it extremely difficult to use those skills. So at this point of time, I'm just cross checking on time. We've got another 14 minutes to go, and I want to delve into sharing with you a personal philosophy in terms of how I, have been looking at certain things, right? In terms of looking at, how one should focus on skills, right? What is expected, right? So, as we've discussed before, imagine today, right now, you have finished your MBA, right? We are in the year 2022. So, I want to bring it back to looking at what is expected from you from the employability skills market. What do they want to see in you in terms of specific skill sets, right? I want you to think about it. What is expected from you? What are the hard skills expected from you? What are the soft skills expected from you? So, which brings us to the point. I want you to use the chat box and type in what do you, when I say hard skills, I mean your hard skills can be, if I'm going to ask a MBA HR student, I want you to, build a system for our recruitment company on how you will filter MBA students for the job of a assistant manager marketing for a bank, right? So it's a hard skill where I'm expecting you to apply what you learned in HR, right? Where you will say that what are the steps that you're going to take up to do this filtration process. So first is you're going to say, I'm going to create a job description, say what is the eligibility criteria. So the how are you going to think systematically in terms of for that particular domain? Same thing if I'm going to say that you want to get into investment management company and do financial planning for people. Now, if the person is going to ask you saying, okay, what mutual funds are you going to recommend to a person who wants to invest in equity mutual funds for the next 15 years, right? So, would you recommend index funds? Would you recommend liquid funds? And how would you arrive at that? So, now you are using soft skills to communicate, right? So, I've given you an example of HR, I've given you an example of finance. Now, let me give you a third example to make it easier for marketing, right? So, you are hired by a FMCG company like ITC to be a territorial sales manager for a particular part, let's say for Calicut market, right? And in Calicut market, one zone is given to you. So the person asks you, okay, how are you going to plan your daily sales activities, right? So you come back to me, Shravan, with a set of questions. So what questions will you ask about the FMCG market for your job as a territorial salesperson, right? Now, these are all areas where you're going to be applying your marketing skills, financial skills, and HR skills, right? What you learned, what's your knowledge. The application of the knowledge, which is of a domain area, is what we call as hard skills, right? Soft skills is your communication skills, your leadership skills, your presentation skills, how you talk, how you present yourself, and all of that, right? So, so let me ask you this question. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being low and 10 being high, uh, what would be the current uh, rating you would give yourself on your soft skills? Type in the chat box and give me put a number. Put a number. I'm not going to mention your names. I just want to see the number. How do you self-rate yourself on your communication skills, soft skills, presentation, leadership, writing skills, email skills, PPT, all of that? So in the chat box, I want you to type a number. So I can see some numbers: 6767767. Okay, great. 656. Okay, 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 okay. 567. Okay, great. Okay, fantastic. So now what I want you to do is I want you to mention the number which you mentioned. I want you to pick a certain area of your communication skills for which you're giving the number, and please put it in the chat box. So, oral communication skills, right? What is the marking you would give yourself? Oral communication. Mention the communication skill and mention the number that you're giving it in the chat box. Like written communication skills, write written communication skills in the chat box and mention the number against your skill. Type in the chat box. Yeah, okay. Oral communication 6, correct. Written communication skills, presentation skills. Mention the skill and your rating. Oral communication 8, written communication 7. Right. Great. 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 So this is it. So now, similarly, I want you to do this exercise once you get on with your hard skills. Every month, as you learn about marketing and you learn about finance and HR, you're taken through different subjects. I want you to add the word applied to each one of these subjects which you're taking. Let's say operations, it could be marketing and business communication. Applied is what I want you to do it as soon as you finish each course and grade yourself on how much you can apply it and talk about it. See, it's one thing for you to score 90 in marketing, right? And can you talk about marketing? Can you give examples? Can you apply it? Can you show it? So if you say you're good at finance, once your college opens and you have a college canteen, can you calculate based on the number of people, with your marketing and your financial calculation skills? What is the kind of revenue that is being generated? What is the kind of customers, shops in and around your college have, right? What is the kind of business they're generating, right? What are the good days of revenue? What are the bad days of revenue, right? Weekend sales, weekday sales. So your hard skills and soft skills are really very important. Okay. So now at this point of time,
In the movie Ustad, you have all seen that movie. There is a great, great statement made by Thilakan Shetty in that. The only thing we say muddy is when we are full with food. Yes or no?
do we have any of the
Yes or
faculty
no?
members? Do we have any of the faculty? Okay, right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So, so coming back to hard skills and soft skills. So now what I want you to do is I want you to take that notebook of yours. If you are having your notebook with you and your pen, I want you to draw a big letter T. Type yes in the chat box after you've put a T in your note, notebook. A large T, right? You've done it. Okay, great. So I want you to write a small letter I next to it. Small letter I next to it. Great. Type yes if you've done that as well. So I want to quickly talk to you about I-shaped people and T-shaped people. Okay. Now, I-shaped people are people who have a certain specific domain area. Like, for example, today, if you look at people who have done their degree and gone into banking, these people will be very good at, cash management, cashier, or might know how to, clear checks, right? So this is I-shaped people who have a certain specific domain area. Now, we say that if you want to be successful post your MBA, it becomes very, very important for you to build yourself to be a T-shaped person, not an I-shaped person. Now, yes, when you enter your MBA, post your MBA, when you are entering into a company, you will be an I-shaped person initially. But during your MBA, you need to experiment with building yourself in terms of being a T-shaped person. What is a T-shaped person, you might be asking? A T-shaped person is somebody who's got depth in the area, but also has breadth. So, for example, if I ask somebody to do graphic designing, a person who knows only logo designing is great in one area, he has a depth. Now, if a person knows how to do logo designing, brochure designing, different areas, the person has got breadth, right? So, likewise, presentation skills, if we say, if you know how to present in front of your classroom in terms of making a business presentation, you have depth in terms of the topic you're talking about. Now, the more topics you're able to present, then you're building a T, right? So, likewise, if you are going to be looking at yourself of being a T-shaped person in your domain of finance and marketing or HR, you have to build depth in individual areas as well as breadth. So, it's not enough to know only about training and development in HR. You also need to know about recruitment. Now, in the field of recruitment, do you know how to do e-recruitment, how to do paper-based recruitment, which is, to do recruitment digitally, what are the different ways in which you're going to manage it. So, whichever area that you are getting into, you have to focus over the next 2 years to build depth in that area and also build breadth. Today, a lot of people are suffering in terms of job loss because they're focused on only one single skill, right? And they know that very well. So the moment automation comes in, a I-shaped person can lose a job, but a T-shaped person will always be able to grow. So this is what is really very, very important for us to focus on. Build depth and width. So I'm going to take a couple of minutes because I can see the time is 10:27 to just connect the dots. Uh, Malcolm Gladwell says that if you are looking to become an expert in any field, you need to have spent at least 10,000 hours on picking up, your knowledge, skill, applied knowledge in that area. So, which means you have to start today. Start reading about marketing, start reading about HR, start reading about finance. These areas of your soft skills, also start working on that. So, the more hours you spend on developing these skill sets, you will be a T-shaped person. You will be able to leverage this MBA also well, very well, right? So this is what I would like to leave you with at this point of time. And as we approach the 10:30 time logically, so now we are going to take a break, and post the break, Asha ma'am is going to come and talk to you. So I also want each one of you to take some time today to write down a one-page report on what was covered in this session, right? And what is covered in Asha ma'am's session as well. And what the earlier email I've asked you to send, please send those tasks as well as these things which I've asked you to do, right? Okay. So can I have one of you unmute and just tell me what the tasks are for everybody's benefit? Any one of the students, if you can, and that will be the last thing we do. Any one of the students, if you can unmute yourself and just share with the rest of the class what is the assignment. And then we'll break. Can I have Sri Lakshmi Natarajan? If you can just unmute yourself and say what is the email that you're supposed to send for everybody's benefit. So I'm going to anyway repeat it for the time being, because I think maybe you can't unmute yourself. So what I want you to do is, I want you to send me an email by 5 o'clock today evening with 3 reasons which will motivate you to do very well in your MBA program. Along with which you will send me your resume, which you have made or you will make, and send it to me. Along with it, you will also send me one pager on on what's been covered in this session. Okay. So if you have any questions, please hold on to the questions, and you can email it to me as well, or we can take it up in the next session. Right.